Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. As usual, my name is Rohan, and with me I have Phil as usual. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Rohan.
And we are also joined with Peter. How's it going?
Yeah, hi. Thanks.
Good. This episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu Casa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and the ESP Home projects. Configuration is done by the user interface, so there's no fiddling with router settings, SSL certs, or any YAML. All right, let's jump into it. Peter, how's it going? What brings you on our show today?
Well, I've been waiting quite a bit to get on here.
I know this has been a bit of a. I'm glad we're finally able to get you on. I know we've been going back and forth a bunch.
Yeah.
So
no, I want to talk to you about my Home Assistant journey and how to use Home Assistant for real stuff, real actual problem solving.
Yeah,
because I guess we get a lot of people on the podcast. It's like, I've integrated Hue, I've integrated my Z-Wave, and I've done all this cool stuff. But I actually really loved your email that you sent in, and I was like, wow, okay, that's a great use case. So why don't you tell us what got you into Home Assistant, or what got you here today?
Maybe I'll start with just how I got into automation broadly. I guess. I'm getting older, so I was born in the early 80s, and I don't know. I kind of always liked the dream of building your own tech. I don't know why it just stuck with me.
Sure.
So, as I think the first thing I did was back in maybe 2007, my wife at the time and we bought our first apartment, and I really wanted to have a home cinema. So we bought a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, had a kid on the way. So he got a room, we got a bedroom, and I took the last room and I built an actual home cinema. Big screen, everything, like double-seater.
Nice.
And I wanted to automate it. So, and I found this, we're talking I don't know, Windows ME was the latest version or something.
Actually, that's right. Wasn't it? It was Millennium Edition. Was that? I think that's what it was called. But then they also sort of pivoted at some point to Media Edition as well, because they wanted to
there was an MCE, a Media Center Edition.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, memories.
Yeah, those were cool.
And I really wanted to. I really wanted to use that, but it wasn't really compatible with cable in Sweden. So let's just say I had other ways to get media.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I wanted to play that. So I got the Xbox MC. And then I found this really nifty USB receiver, IR receiver. I think it was called USB UIRT or something. Really generic. And then I had a program called Event Ghost, where you could do actual automations. And they had support for this one standard of, I think it was called Telbus, that used 433 megahertz, the smart outlets. So I had those. Basically, what you could do was on and off, but that was fine enough because I could press the play button and the light goes out, and I could just watch the movie.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I really wanted to get in, have real automation. So I think it was a time when SmartThings had a Kickstarter going for their first hub, and I waited for that for so long. and then when I got it, it was well, it's kind of an anticlimax,
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then Hue and IKEA got they released their hubs, and I basically bought everything and just tried it. And then we got a house. So I kind of from the start just wanted to put everything in. And Hue was actually great. I think Philips Hue has been they probably done more for home automation than any other company, in the early days at least, because they were kind of affordable and it worked. They were like stable.
Yeah, I definitely think like they've sort of kicked off the smart home scene right now, like the affordable do-it-yourself smart home stuff, right? Like all the TP-Link, the Sonoffs, I think have all been like Philips just sort of exposed that market, and then there's people out there, hey, I want to buy this stuff, right? And sort of away we go. So I totally agree. I mean, Home Assistant wouldn't be here if Paulus wasn't tinkering around with Philips Hue, right?
Exactly.
I love hearing those stories, just so cool. But anyway, so I basically built the automation in this house for around Hue, and the integration with the HomeKit. And then IKEA, they started releasing stuff, and I really, it's kind of, they came in at a nice, like a great price.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, maybe I try this, and I tried to pairing them to the Hue hub. I wasn't never really successful. Like I could get it working, but it wasn't really as stable as using Hue's own things. But IKEA, and then they released like the first blind, like the first smart blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is the future, Now we're talking, because lights is just lights, You had light automation everywhere for forever, basically.
Sure.
But just that smart shades, I got a couple of those, started integrating them. And then back in, has to be 2000, it was 5 years ago. I was out, I took my bike out one evening to just, it was like this early summer, kind of, too late to get into the bathing season, but better late than ever.
Yeah.
So I took the mountain bike out, and like an hour in, I had a fall. Went over, landed on my head, blacked out,
Ouch.
and then I woke up and I was like, "Oh man, that kind of hurt," I gotta go check the bike. Tried to get up, and the only thing that moved was my head.
Oh man.
Sugar.
Yeah.
So, and after a while, I just realized I broke my neck.
Yeah.
The only thing that moved was I could like swivel my head back and forth, and I could move my biceps. Nothing else worked.
Damn.
Right.
And this was, I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock at night or something, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I could hear people, on the trail beside me, because I was out in like the forest, but not like far away.
You weren't like deep into it or anything. You're just
no,
kinda,
I wasn't deep. It just off the trail. And I could hear people. I was like, oh man, I better call for help. But when you don't have working muscles in your stomach, you can't really call. Like you can't shout.
Right.
Wow.
So I could hear people go by, but they couldn't hear me.
Oh no, this is terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of. But after a while, the trail it got quiet, and I was like, okay, maybe I better fall asleep, because get some of the morning joggers or something. So woke up next day, oh, that was a bad dream. Realized no, it wasn't a bad dream. I'm still here. And then I spent the day there, just lying there. But after I think 22 hours or something, they found me. Rushed to the hospital, had surgery, and came out, and the doctor said, well, you're basically paralyzed from the from the neck down. I could move my arms. Like no tricep, but I could use my bicep, basically. The hands weren't working. And then I spent, 9 months in the hospital doing physical therapy and everything. And
Right.
I did break my neck. I crushed the fifth vertebrae. So I have a titanium cage that's hold my spine together. But my actual spinal cord wasn't severed. In some kind of miracle, I still.
Right.
So I have what they call an incomplete neck injury, like where I still have some function left. So right now I have one arm that's pretty okay, and I have one leg that's I'd say maybe 60% motion in, and the other one I can basically use to like a peg leg. So I can stand and I can walk, but I kind of say like I walk like a drunken pirate, and I have the and I have the balance of a drunken pirate. So that's where I was 5 years ago. Got home and kind of started thinking about this home automation thing. Maybe it's time to actually see what it can do. So a friend of mine was like, because I started, working out with the HomeKit and doing that and see what I can do. And then a friend of mine was like, if you want to get sensors in, maybe you should look at something else. And I got a hold of an old like micro server. It's a super micro, like their kind of half tower ones. It's crazy overpowered for what I need it for, because it's like a 16-core Xeon processor with 128 gigs of RAM. So,
maybe just a little overkill.
Maybe just a little. And I had a Raspberry Pi 3, so I started, I started with that. I was like, this isn't really working. I just tried a server.
That's great. It's like going from a toy car to a Ferrari, right? It's
yeah, pretty much. But I'm prototyping in a Ferrari, so it's sometimes when I listen to the show too, when people ask like, "It has really bad performance," and I've never had that problem. I don't know why.
Why doesn't everyone just use 128 gig RAM server? Gosh,
exactly. No, but I mean, it's kind of one of those when you have the tool, you can start using it for everything. So I run quite a lot of things on that server now. So,
nice.
So I got Homebridge running. It was a big deal, and I got Home Assistant running, and I moved everything over. Integrated Hue. Started to move all the automations that I had in Hue, all the lights. I got IKEA integrated. I bought one of those Texas Instruments Zigbee sticks.
The CC2531, is it? Or is that a different brand?
I can't remember. I got one of the early ones. I actually have one of the Home Assistant Sky Connects, but I've been too worried to move everything over. Because it works now. So anyway, we I got because one of the things, because I spend most of the time in a wheelchair, that's how I get around. And when you're in a wheelchair, every light switch is in the wrong place. Doesn't matter where you are, it's in the wrong place. Usually you roll in and then you have to turn around to turn the lights on. And so that's just not working.
Annoying.
So that's the first thing I did. Like I put motion sensors in every room. And I think I go against most of you guys because I don't use them to really turn the lights off. I basically use them to turn everything on,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like I have really long timeouts.
Yeah. I was gonna ask because because obviously you're not standing, right? And you can't like, it's one of those things where the lights turn off if they're after a certain time, after no motion, whatever, and you like swing your arms and stuff like that. Obviously that's not necessarily easy for you to do or possible depending on the situation, right? So
Exactly.
how did you set your automations to deal with that piece?
For my office, for instance, I actually changed over to one of those everything presence ones.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those, the millimeter error?
Yep. Yeah, that's great.
And that's working. It's fantastic. Just I wish I had those in every room instead.
Yeah.
The precision is just amazing.
Yeah.
So, but basically what I do is I have long timeouts, and I try to I use light what time of day it is to set what type of light I get. So, for instance, I always, like, if you go into the bathroom, the lights always turns on, and I have two lights in the bathroom. I have the ceiling light and one of the mirrors. But it's one of those, I think my wife got it to use it to have get her makeup on. So it's not really pleasant, so to speak.
Right, it's just bright.
It's really bright.
Yeah.
So I put one of these cordless buttons from Aqara. They have the two switch that's just wireless. So you can turn the lights off, turn on and off on that. And then I have a two system, because there's also a light switch on the wall. So, and I had one of those Aqara in-wall switches, but everything is connected. So if you turn the light on, you press the switch, the ceiling light is on, it just turns everything on. But if the mirror light is off or on, turns everything off.
Right.
And then there's a timer. So that's basically how I work with them. If you manually turn the light off, it won't turn it on again for I don't know how many seconds.
Okay. And that gives you enough time to exit the room and stuff like that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But it gets quite expensive for something you could just use a basic motion sensor to do.
Yeah.
But I actually have got stuck once. We were visiting a company, and I went to the bathroom. I actually moved over to sit on the toilet, and the motion sensor just didn't register me, so the lights got turned off, and I couldn't get it on again.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there, using my one good arm trying to get it to turn on that. And this was in the wheelchair bathroom. So I had to get my phone out and get, just a flashlight to light everything up.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So after that, I was like, okay, that's not happening at home, at least.
Yeah.
This.
It's lessons in design the hard way, right? Is what don't I want, and how would I rather it act, right? Is unfortunately what it is.
But that's the great thing with a Home Assistant too, because most of the automations that I run, I set up a basic one, I set up the conditions and everything, and then if I'm somewhere where I think the automation should work, but it doesn't, you can usually figure out why didn't the conditions actually trigger now, and you can just put it up on your phone and change it, right there.
Yeah.
And you can test each condition too, right? You can go, okay,
exactly.
Which condition actually didn't work, right? Even if you've got the automation in YAML, I really find that beneficial, right? Okay, here's an automation. You can see the traces. Let's just go through manually right now. Why isn't this condition working? Exactly. It's really cool.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish was that like picking things in the drop-down lists on your phone. That interface is not great.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
then again,
the drop down list, needs to be a little bit nicer, I'm guessing.
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not scrollable in a like intuitive way, you know?
Yeah.
And also like what I would like is like if you could write a couple of characters in, it would actually filter on those, but it doesn't really. It filters on like the first characters, not.
Yeah, it sort of does like
Beyond
not a whole like a fuzzy match against anything in the name. It's sort of, you've got to get it in the right order. I find like even like if I'm trying to do let's say, you know, Phil's blind, but it might be called, you know, blind Phil. Like if you do it around the wrong way, it won't show up right. Yeah. No, totally.
That's one of the that's one of the things I would like to would be more intuitive, I think, or. And it also comes down to, I don't know how you guys do it, but I haven't found a good way to name things.
Yeah.
In name like devices and everything.
I've tried to keep things consistent in terms of like when I'm doing like my entity IDs, I'll try and do like the name of the room first and then what it is. So, you know, for example, if it's a light, I'll go like, the other way around. I'll do like living room _light or living room _blind. Just to keep, you know, like all the entity IDs. So then when I am filtering, I can go, all right, it's in the living room, and then I'll know I'll only get what's in that room. I can sort of filter out from that list. Whereas if I go the other way around, and I'm doing like, you know, lights, I'm going to get lights from every single room, and it's not going to be what I'm after, right? So that's why I've tried to keep it, but it doesn't work out that well, right? Like I still, to this day, I'll be in my YAML and be like, oh, that's around the wrong way. That's frustrating, but I'm not going to move it.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. Exactly, and at some point you're just, you know, captured by your system.
Yeah.
I'm pretty big on immediately naming things the way I would. Like it's how my brain is wired. Like even yesterday, Phil and I were messing around with the IDASEN desk integration that just came out, and I added it. First thing I did, well, Phil was like, "Okay, let's try this." I'm like, "No, I'm renaming this first to Office Task."
Right? Those random characters at the end that I have no idea what they are. You know,
it's So it's that kind of thing, right? I think it's just drilled into me. It's proper labeling of things, and it's just how I've always had it. And but same thing like Phil, I'll do like room name and then light, right? Or room name and then like door or whatever, right? Like sensor, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about that is like I repurpose stuff all the time. Like if I rebuild it. So I have a light, for instance, that it's called spare, and I don't know where it is anymore.
Right.
But it reports that it's on sometimes.
It's on. Yeah.
It's that's always good.
That's always, yeah.
That's funny.
That reminds me of like my random like devices on my network. I'll just go, hey, what's that IP address? Oh, it's a Raspberry Pi. Oh yeah, I know that Raspberry Pi. That's my Raspberry Pi. Where is that Raspberry Pi? And then I'll go hunting for it. Like I have no idea where it is. Right? It's like plugged in somewhere, reporting. Don't know what it's doing, but I can SSH to it. Just don't know where it physically is.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you guys run Unify equipment? Like,
I don't. No.
They have it kind of hallucinates device names and everything sometimes. Like if something had an IP sometimes, like, oh, okay, it's this. You know?
Yeah. Well, if you have enough, depending on the platforms you're using, if again, obviously, I deal in the enterprise wireless world, like for my day job, right? And well, enterprise network world. But I had a customer that they'd actually lost a lot of they'd lost one of their assets. I think it was like a laptop or something like that. And they're like, we think it got stolen, whatever. And before they were going to file a police report, they actually were like, let me go log in and have a look. And one of the things we do is build a map, and like you can triangulate stuff, right? Asset tracking kind of thing. And they're like, wait a second, I see it and it's powered on. Like, so it's physically here. So the guy went in and checked and it was just like on top of a cabinet and there was a bunch of stuff on top of it or something like that. And they were just like, oh, that was almost really embarrassing when we called the police for that. So it was, We need that for home.
We
Yeah.
definitely need that for home.
Where's my
Just
phone?
be
Where's
able
my
to
remote?
use exactly. Or what is on my what is actually on my network and where is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially now where access points are coming down in price and you can actually have a couple of them. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny, but I digress.
Yeah, that's lights. That's one of the big
Yeah.
things I do. And another thing that it's changing batteries and stuff is really hard now.
Yeah.
So I have a battery page in Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So whenever someone comes by, I kind of check the battery page and would you mind picking that up or doing that or so that's really useful. It's kind of hard to do in most other systems. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but I think it's kind of one of those convenience things. Like we don't even show battery power unless it's low.
Yeah.
For instance, IKEA does that. I think Hue does that on most things too. And I guess it makes it easier for users but for me, for instance, it's really, I really need to have things working. So
And you'd rather know something's at 80% versus 70%. Like you want to know what the state is for everything, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to know when it's low.
As of right now, I put up on the dashboard. I have like a battery page that lists everything in what kind of categories they're in, and I use one of those cards, like battery cards. It's really nice. So like anything that's yellow,
Yeah.
You're coming by for a coffee, you're probably changing a battery.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, it's not something that obviously that you're able to do yourself, right? And get help where you need it. So,
but also I've started to move over to actually connect things to mains. So I, especially the blinds, for instance, the IKEA blinds. One of them I took apart, just solder on some connections on it, and one of those, step down converters.
Yep.
Which is kind of funny. I didn't really notice, but the battery in for instance the IKEA blinds, I think it's rated at like 7.2 volts. But if you actually give it 7.2 volts, it reports like 60% battery or something, or 70% battery.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you have to overvolt it to get it up to 100. Or
that's interesting. Yeah.
So just on that, I'm going to ask a strange one. So how one here getting the blinds down? Are you waiting for someone to come over and say, "Hey, while you're here, can you pull that blind down?" And similar with motion sensors, when you decided, okay, I need to put motion sensors around the room, are they at a height where you can get to them in your chair, or have you got them up in the ceiling so it gets more, like, can see more of the room? Like, how have you decided to go about those, like that?
Most motion sensors are just on the wall where I can, or they're, I can't stand up if I hold on to something, so most of them are I'd say at 1.5 to 1.6 meter or something.
Okay.
But the main, actually, because I have most of the Philips Hue motion sensors and they report temperature as well.
Yep.
So if you put them high up, they're usually a couple of degrees higher than.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that goes into the other thing I use. It's like for heating automations. One of the things that you lose when you break your neck is the ability to sweat below the
interesting.
level, which means that you can't really keep your temperature down.
Right.
And you can't feel that you can't keep your temperature down either. So you can basically get a heat stroke if it's like 26 degrees and you're there for too long.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. It's summers are crazy now.
Yeah.
So I have this Netatmo automated radiator thingies around everywhere. And I had to install 3 ACs as well.
Right.
And, but heating automation in Home Assistant, it's actually quite nice. Especially if you have a couple of sensors around where you can average out the temperature readings. So that's really nice, I think. And helpers have been a godsend because I had to do it in YAML first, and it's okay to do it for 1 or 2 things when you're doing it for every room. And
it gets annoying.
Now it's just point and click, right? Give me these 2 sensors and give me the average or whatever, and done. Yeah.
Helpers I think helpers is still underrated. They are really great.
Yeah, agreed.
And if I could make a wish, there's one helper I would like. It's a calibration helper. I would like a generic calibration helper. Because most systems, if you have, I don't know, if you ever tried to, do you have those MeFloras, for instance?
Yep.
The measure soil. It's like you put them in a glass of water, like 60% wet. Like, all right then.
Right. So just like a factor of like, add this much or multiply this by X, whatever.
I would just like a helper where you can, and you can actually have one that you could tie to a device, so it actually shows up on the device page. So you could say, this device, this sensor, and these are the values that I expect to be, 100%, 0%, or whatever it is. Like, this is the range. Just give me the rate, or give me the new calibration for it.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you could do with a template sensor, but once again, right, you're in YAML, Ginger, and it's like a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, for ESP Home, for instance, you can do it if you get you have to do it basically if you get an analog value in.
Yep.
But because we do have temperature offsets for kind of many things. But just to have a generic calibration helper would make it so much easier. And I think you could use it in quite a few places.
Yeah.
So those are the big ones. I think that I haven't, I wasn't really sure how much they meant, to actually have light working and temperature.
Yeah.
And so, do you have anything like a smartwatch or anything to help regulate like your body temperature? Like, could you have? I mean, I guess you are wearing one. But are you can that report into Home Assistant and say, okay, like you're now overheating? Let's either alert you, or automatically if you're home, automatically turn on the aircon or something like that.
I guess I could. I haven't really thought of it. That's a great idea, though. For me, I mean, since I still have, I still have some function. I mean, I don't feel heat and cold basically.
Right.
So, yeah, that would actually be quite good. I kind of notice it because I get groggy, and So and then I can just check, it's getting too hot in here.
Yeah.
But most of it is automated. Like, I don't know. I think this is one of the big things we have, like, in the community. It's like, should the home automation system actually, be just in the background and do its thing, or should you have, like, is it the convenience that you can control it with your phone, or should you control it?
Right.
And for me, it's always been, it should be invisible. It should be in the background.
Yep.
Yep. Just works.
Doing its thing.
But
yeah, that's interesting. So let me ask you this then. 2-part question. One is your most useful automation And then the second one is your most fun automation. Again, they don't have to necessarily be the same. They could be the same, but
Okay.
what are those?
The most useful one I have is a really simple one. I have a sensor on my mailbox that tells me if everyone has opened it, and then it turns a light red on the outside of my garage.
Okay.
So when I pull up to the house, I can actually see if I have mail or not.
Nice.
And it's so easy and it's so useful. Because especially if I'm like, I can't walk down to the mailbox, and it's not that far. It's maybe 30 meters or 40, but I have to take the car, so
it's still a
mail
task
during the day. Exactly. So I have to go down to the garage, get into the car, go down there, like drive down, and then I have to, look at the neighbors when they see that I took the car to the mailbox,
Yeah.
But no, that's my most useful one. And it's also, if someone comes by, they can see that the light is on. So they usually, bring
grab the mail
in
for you. That's nice.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's the probably the best
useful.
one. Most
How about
useful
the most fun?
Oh, I have so much fun ones.
All right, give us your top two.
Oh, my top two. It's not an automation. It's an accessory. Like I have a Stream Deck. You guys seen those, like the Elgato Stream Decks?
Yeah, I've got one here too.
That one is just so useful.
Yeah,
and it's fun too because you can do whatever with it, So I have smart locks everywhere. So when someone rings the door, I can just press a button, and if I'm logged into my computer, it just opens the door. That one's really really great. And with the Stream Deck, it's because you can customize it. So actually I have one button that's my email address, so I don't have to fill it in everywhere. So I just press that and just.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's great.
Yeah, like the Stream Deck, it's obviously aimed at streamers, but and if you listen to, we had Rosemary Orchard on, and she has the Automators podcast. They've done a few things for Mac with Stream Deck as well, right? Like there's so many cool use cases in the automation space that you can use this thing for, right? Like I actually use it every day when I'm using my computer at home to resize windows because I have an ultra wide monitor. And it's, a pain in the ass to, get one window over here and another window over there and get it exactly 50-50. So I can just rearrange my desktop, push a button, and there's apps out there that you can take it to the next level, right? Push a button and it just sets up your computer for work mode, puts all the windows in the right place. And then, of course, you get all these extensions, right? Home Assistant, I think there's... you can expose anything, right? Like I've got, I can control my Sonos through my Stream Deck, right? Pause music, start meeting modes. Yeah, like really underrated device.
Yeah.
I have one of those Broadlink.
The RM
transceivers. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that one is, I actually have it connected so I can press a button here on my Stream Deck. It will turn the fan on in like one of those standing fans, like and it can control oscillation and speed and everything from it. So and it's so easy, but that's the best automation. So that's the best accessories, Another fun one I have is I have a counter on my cat box because my cat is usually she's usually outside most of the summer season, and I don't, like cleaning the cat box out is a real hassle because I have to, sit down on the floor and do it. It's kind of a project. So I put one of those vibration sensors on there, and I just have a counter in Home Assistant that shows how many times she's been in there.
Nice.
So that's also one of the things you might get to do when you come visit or come grab a cup of coffee.
Come grab a coffee and clean out my cat's shit. There you go.
The cat box. That's funny.
Another one I have is I have a check for my robot mower, like the
Yeah.
lawnmower,
Yeah.
Husqvarna.
Yeah.
I actually look forward to see what we do with that automation. It's quite new, or that what do you call it?
Lawnmower
Device type.
domain. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
domain.
going to ask, have you started using that? Like, is it integrated with Home Assistant as a lawnmower, or is it still coming soon to part of being like properly supported?
I don't know actually. It's because it was a vacuum for the longest time with Robotnik. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like it was what 2023.9 they came, like they released it, and then
it's really
recent. Only a certain amount of, not every vacuum has been moved over to the lawnmower component yet.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's really no different than a vacuum, right? Like functionally, it does the same thing. Instead of edge sweeping thing, it's got very sharp blades that's cutting your grass, right? Like it's. But I don't know that we've actually talked to anybody that's owned one of these. So because it's one of those things where I like mowing the lawn, but I just never end up like doing it. Just there's so many other tasks that gets in the way, right? So it's like. What's your experience with it like? Just give me the quick and dirty review of a robot lawnmower.
So when I bought this house, I looked at the lawn, and it's like a 3,000 square meter yard.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the first thing I said was like, I'm not mowing that, and my wife was like, I'm not mowing that either. So I actually bought the robots before we really moved in.
That's amazing.
Okay. It was just part of the house, you know.
Yeah.
It's like this is going into my mortgage. I don't care. It's going into the mortgage. You know, give me the biggest one you have, basically.
That's awesome.
And it's been working awesome. It's been so good. I mean, the first year, of course, you have to do some actual like physical changes to the area because it gets stuck.
Right.
But once you get that out, it's just a workhorse, basically.
Yeah.
Changing the knives once a year or twice a year and just clean it up and everything.
Yeah. The Husqvarna ones, they have the wire right around the perimeter, or is it GPS?
No, they have GPS now, but I have the wired one. I actually did this one wasn't even Wi-Fi equipped because like I got it back in 2014 or something. But I found this really crazy German that has built. It's kind of a hack, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's like a device that you can put into the mower and connect it to the battery, and then it connects between the like the control unit and the display.
Nice.
So it reads whatever the data is coming through, and then it emulates you actually pressing the buttons on the display.
Oh wow.
Amazing.
Which is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, I want €100 for this. I'm like, okay, you know, shut up and take the money.
Take it, yeah.
That's awesome.
But the cool thing about it is like it can actually read the diagnostics as well. So I installed this actually this summer, and it's reading it out. And my mower had, I think, 5,500 hours of runtime. That's quite amazing for something that only goes like 2.5 months a year, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's been great. And I think it's one of those things that probably, you know, the simpler it is and the more purposeful built it is, the better it just works.
Yeah.
So, how do you find lawn clippings? Because I know, like, with lawn clippings, like, it doesn't have a catcher, right? So it just puts fine bits of grass along the grass. Do you find, like, it's brings it into the house more, like it makes the yard dirtier, or you don't notice it at all?
If you're early in the season, and what I do is like when I first start it, I put it on the highest setting, so it cuts the grass. I don't know, maybe 7 centimeters or something, and then you just lower it after a couple of weeks. When it runs all the time, the clippings it actually does. It's like 2-3 millimeters or something.
Yep.
So that actually works like fertilizer for your lawn as well.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's
supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I think I haven't I never do anything to the lawn. I never fertilize it or something like that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Just seems like a hassle.
Here they actually encourage you to mulch all your lawn clippings, and which is what I do as well. Like instead of bagging it and stuff like that. It's just for me at the end of the year, like right before the winter comes. So like pretty much in a few weeks, I'll be just raking it all up and taking it out and probably doing a little bit of work. But to Peter's point, it's supposed to be extremely good because even all the moisture, and it helps trap some moisture in, so you're saving water, and obviously all the nutrients and stuff like that is at least that's what our government's saying, or the municipal government here is saying too, right? So
the only thing though is like if you let it run when it's like really raining, it creates clumpy. This kind of paste and just stick and it's kind of like those papier-mâché things you did as a kid, with so that's the only thing. But I got one of those leak sensors, like a generic Zigbee leak sensor, and I 3D printed like a like a plate that catches water and just let it run over the leak sensor. So now I know if it's raining outside. So I'm going to use that that in an automation next year, just to keep it docked whenever it's raining.
Well, that's it right now. Your home missus can say, no, it's wet outside, don't go and mow the lawn.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
In terms of design principles, right? What would your kind of key tenets be? If let's just say you're moving into a new house, you can 100% customize it. You can build it the way you want. Light switches at the right heights and all of those kind of things. What would, let's say, like big five, how would you design house today, given that you're in a wheelchair and you have restrictions?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I think like everything, you have to think about the back end. So you have to have a stable setup. And for me, that has been I have UPSs for everything. All the tech stack has an UPS connected to it, because I have had problems with something as simple as the IKEA hub, for instance. If it loses its connection and gets a new IP, you can actually lose Zigbee connectivity to it, or you can actually lose devices to it. And that sort of thing is just so easy to have like an UPS, especially if you have brownouts or something like that. That's one of the things. And the same thing for the server. And it can't be said, too many times. It's like backup, test your backups,
Yeah.
And for me, I actually run Home Assistant on Proxmox.
Okay.
So I back up like the actual instance or the virtual machine. So I back that up to a separate location as well. And then I have backups in Home Assistant as well that goes. I've set it up so it goes to an off-site location as well. So I can roll back. And then you need to test your system,
Yeah.
Like pull the internet cord, see what actually happens.
100% pull that internet cord. Yeah. It's amazing how many local things, right, stop working when you pull that internet cord.
Break, yeah.
One thing I would like though, and this is, I don't know, have you guys run Pi-hole, for instance?
I run AdGuard, so similar.
Yeah, similar. But for Pi-hole, I have 2 instances. I have one on my virtual machine. I have one on the Raspberry Pi that's like on a separate connection, and they can do failover.
Right.
And that is something I would like to have for Home Assistant as well. Where you can have you can run your main instance, and then you can have a backup one on like a Yellow or something.
Yeah.
100%.
And if this goes down, just move over to the other one.
I was trying like very hard to get that. I had Rohan actually got me onto a plugin, was Remote Home Assistant plugin, which is available in Hacks, and essentially I could link up 2 instances of Home Assistant, right, and share entities across them. And the idea being that if server A is pinging server B and server B goes down, then server A would turn on a bunch of its automations to carry over. But when you do things like Zigbee radios, Z-Wave radios, when they're when the host machine goes down with those radios, you also lose that whole connection, right? So it was really hard unless I had my Z-Wave running on a hub, which isn't impossible to do, but then you've got to have a failover for that, right? And you just get sprawl happening everywhere. So it's tricky.
I wonder with Matter, maybe there's some way in Matter where you can have like a distributed hub, basically a virtual hub that you can run somewhere.
Potentially, I don't know. I haven't looked at Matter 2 party, but there's no like single controller. Like you could have multiple controllers.
You
right?
can have multiple. And I think that's the problem is it's going to be everything else that you run that's not Matter, right? I mean, I know Matter is the cool, fun, hot topic today. But 99% of my devices that I have today, I don't support it, and I'm not going to be throwing out my motion sensors from 7 years ago, whatever, because of Matter, right? Like it's and I think that's the problem. And Phil, to your point, even you can have like multiple radios and stuff like that, but then you need to coordinate like, hey, I need my ZHA databases to be replicated, and like all of those kind of things, right? And that can really be annoying to deal with. I know now on that front, there's a little bit more where you can do things like back up the database, I believe, in ZHA. I thought I saw something around that.
Yeah, you can do backups and automated backups every night.
So and I'm talking of like the devices specifically from ZHA, right? And same thing, even I don't know on Zigbee to MQTT, Z-Wave to MQTT. Z-Wave JS is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that's if it's possible there, but and if it is, then problem is it requires coordination of like 18 different things there to say, okay, you need to move here, right? MQTT is actually easier to do because there are ones that have that out there, right?
And I mean, if you run the MQTT server somewhere else, you can actually have that in a failover state, and
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
probably the one piece that is the easiest, but everything else is hard.
Yeah, for sure. But the other thing, other things that I really like is like for my vacuum, for instance. If you want a challenge, try sitting in a chair and run a regular vacuum around your house.
God, yeah,
it takes a while. So I have actually have 2 now. I have the Roborock S7 that I run the automations for, and that is also one of the fun ones because I've been working from home now for 2 years, so I can't have the vacuum going. So what I do is every time I leave the house and everyone left the house, that robot runs. And then I have a simple helper that just increments the vacuum runs today by 1, and then it check that if we leave again.
Nice.
So that's really good actually. That's what I should do is have one of those like you haven't vacuumed in this many days, and just have a persistent persistent notification.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then, integration with voice assistants is like the next big thing. I'm really looking forward to see what they do with year of the voice here.
Yeah. There's going to be some really cool stuff. I'm not sure when this episode's coming out, but there's going to be some cool stuff coming. I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah, well, custom wake words are here, so that's cool. Like chapter 4, pretty good. I can't believe how fast voice control is locally. They've done.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see. I think next year, like I know 2023 was like the year of the voice, but I think next year is where we're going to actually be able to start seeing the fruits of the labor, right? Like being able to just go in and go, yep, here's assist, and do all this. I don't know. Are you running any like off the shelf voice assistants at the moment? Like you've got like the Amazon Echo or the Google Home. Have you toyed with those for voice control?
I have a couple of Google Homes. It's just one of those things, when English isn't your primary language, just naming things is so hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, I use them. I have a couple of them, so I do the basic things like good night routines and stuff like that. And it's only like when you have kids too, like when the kid kind of figure out that I can actually control the house by saying these random things.
Yes.
Dangerous.
It's like pandemonium. So but I would like. I mean, I have the thing. Like, I would really like to be able to just press a button on my Stream Deck and have it, use the voice. I don't even need a wake word. I need a simple command that
push to talk.
Works locally, works fast, and that can be like really customized.
I wonder if you can hook one of those like the the M5 stack Atom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like because it's got the little button in it and everything, right? So I wonder if you can actually like hook one of those up to a battery, just like a battery bank, right? Because they're just USB powered or whatever, and should last you a while. And
that's a good idea.
And just like keep it on you, right? Even if it's like underneath like a wheelchair handle or something like that, you just push it and say, "Turn on the bedroom light," whatever, right? Like that kind of thing. And I think they're aiming for really good globalization support as well, right? So now you can natively say that in Swedish, right? And so it's like that would be kind of cool, right? Like,
that would be a really cool thing. We couldn't get like when they announced that you couldn't really get those devices here. They were just sold out. So I actually bought things to. I bought things to build my own in ESP Home. It's just that I have so many ESP Home projects going, so it's it's down the list.
I hear you. No, the those ones are back in stock. At least I mean for those of you listening at the time of this recording. So I just bought 3 days ago, something like that, right? And so they are, because they weren't expecting so many Home Assistant listeners to go and be like, oh, great, I'm going to get like 5 of these.
Exactly.
And which is what happened. And so it looks like the Home Assistant team worked with M5 Stack to say, hey, let's get a little more of these in and do that kind of thing. So it's I think that's good.
Even though I like the idea to have one of those old school red phones where you could just pick it up. And,
the president's phone.
Exactly. Go to DEFCON 4, click.
That's great. What that means is it just opens your garage door, right?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's funny. So going back to like kind of your principles for design, like what other things? So you said like have a really reliable backend system, right? Like power everything. What else? But what else? Like in terms of placement of stuff and how you build different things. Like,
I mean, if I would redo it now, I'd probably run cables everywhere. Just have cable outlets or conduits going, where you can actually put a simple thing like an open door sensor or like a reed switch or something like that. And especially like around Windows and above Windows. So if you want to I've been trying to automate one of the vents here in my office, for instance, with right now I have a fan that I can use to blow hot air out to keep the temperature down. But I'd really like to. I've been working on building an iris for it, so I can control the intake in the winter as well. But it would be so much easier if it just had cables going there. And it's also like I really believe in like if you're running sensors, they should be cabled. Because it's kind of one of those things like, okay, it's really convenient you can place a wireless sensor anywhere, but if you're actually like relying on it, it has to work, and no matter what type. I mean, if something is wireless, you have 2 points of failure, both the connectivity and the actual power to it. And some things are just, they don't report their battery percentage correctly. So I have things like, it's like, where's that sensor? It's I don't know, it's probably been out for, a couple of days, and you don't and you don't notice it until you need it. So I think that's probably the easiest change I would do.
I guess especially if it's a critical one, right? And like you said, like it's not, it's not easy to go in and change batteries for you, right? Like it's you gotta typically get a friend or something like that to get somebody to help you with that, right? That can, especially if it's high up, right? If you have like
cameras, for instance, one of those. I had to change out my camera system to
wired
one, or it's power over Ethernet one now.
Exactly, right. And that kind of thing, that makes perfect sense, right? Like but interesting. Any other key principles that you'd say for anybody out there that's looking to do this?
I think keep it simple. It's really like start with the basic things and build from there. It's so much easier to, like, you can imagine what you think it's gonna be like, but it's so much easier to just build a basic automation and then like refine it over time. That's
don't
and
also,
go all in
you don't
you don't have to make it perfect, So that's what I do, and it kind of iterates. I think that's the best thing.
Yeah. I hear you.
I just want to give my props to the ESP Home team, and also 100%. Say, it's so cool that you can actually build your own sensors and electronics and everything. I just, for me, it's, I kind of like this old, like the dirty high tech, or whatever you want to call it, the gritty high tech. Growing up reading Neuromancer and everything, I just so you can slap something together and use your 3D printer to print whatever casing or whatever you need. It's been so much fun. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, and I think it was really cool that Nebuchadnezzar picked up that project too, right? And just kept it going.
Yeah.
It's such a good synergy.
That's actually why I subscribed. I wasn't really using any of the services like anything is that. Because I was looking around, do they have a Patreon? It's like, no, but you can, have this cloud service. So I just subscribed to Nebuchadnezzar, I think.
Yeah. That's a lot of folks are that. Yeah. I mean, I'm in that same boat too, right? I actually had my entire thing set up for out of band, and I can access it everywhere, and et cetera, but one, it's easier, and two, it supports the project, right?
And especially ESP Home, it's been. I'm looking forward to what they're doing. I mean, you can still. It's still in the early phases. I mean, it's need more support for things, but I'm really looking forward to see what to do.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was really, I mean, for me, it was really enlightening too. Just again, it's not something I experience every day, so I don't really understand it, right? So it's I appreciate you coming in and talking to us and talking to our listeners about some of the challenges and even how you kind of overcome a lot of those pieces, right? So thank you so much for that. And
yeah, thanks so much. Like, this is why we do the podcast, right? Like, it's so cool to get these really interesting use cases of Home Assistant. And I think it also reminds people, like, you know, yes, Home Assistant is, you know, geeky, it's nerdy, but there's real use cases for it out there. And like in the smart home space, it's still early days, right? Like, there's so much potential out there.
Yeah, but also I think you have to give Home Assistant that is, if you like maintain your setup, it's really stable. It is really stable.
Yeah. Agreed.
So
a little bit of care and feeding goes a long way, right?
That's it.
All right. Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again, Peter. And we will catch everybody next time.
Cheers.
thanks, Chris.
Cheers.